to engage startups very actively in the right in end of March, and we did a survey, and by end of April, like a month into the lockdown, we did a survey, and we were surprised to find that at least half the startups were looking at a more positive outlook than they did at the start of the lockdown within 5-6 weeks. While of course there were a lot of startups, at least 20% of startups that were looking at a very bleak outlook. And like true to that, we have had some startups already kind of scale down and even exit the incubator. But it's surprising to see half the startups are looking at a slightly more positive outlook than earlier. And we just did another survey 2 weeks back, about 2.5 months into the lockdown. While the numbers are a little lower, it is still quite high. We still have about 35% that are looking at a more positive outlook. And I think the 3 startups we have today are such. I mean, they found either they were already in the space, in the medical space, and there was an opportunity, or they pivoted whatever they have. They pivoted a little and then found an opportunity in some adjacent area. So, so with that very brief introduction, I will now kind of get into conversation with Chandra of Kalzi, Ryan of Candify, and Nishant of Urban Chiari. So just to get the whole conversation started, I would like to just understand from each of you a very brief, like 1 or 2 minutes, brief introduction to what your startup is, and then what was your first reactions to the lockdown. So we'll start with Chandra first.
Hi, very happy to be here, and thanks a lot for this opportunity to provide the answer. So I think the very first moment when I saw this, definitely it was first moment, it was scary, and we thought that what is going to be, because the lockdown and all has started very soon. But very quickly, I could see that this lockdown is bringing a new kind of opportunity, and startups and the technology that they have can have a magnitude effect on tackling this situation and going forward with this new kind of scenario, new kind of customer requirements. So after a certain point of time, we figured out, okay, this is the way that we should be going, and we did 3-4 POCs, and 2 of them worked very well. So this is what we've carried forward, those POCs, and they have been doing quite well, and which is helping in this COVID containment efforts.
So, so you're otherwise in the voice space, right? You were in the voice AI space. So, what was the
Yeah.
original, your earlier product? What was it targeting before you discovered this thing around COVID?
Oh, well, so I think earlier we were very much generic, that any of a small business owner or medium class business owner who cannot afford to have a luxury of getting big services on artificial intelligence, voice automation, because they are very costly. So we thought that we will build voice AI for a small business owner who cannot handle all the calls. So it's like a mobile micro call center for you just within your phone, which is powered by AI to tackle all your calls. So you can just do your business. You don't have to worry about missed calls, lost calls. Whenever you get free, you can see these are the calls you can call now. This was the original idea. It was not very focused, it was very generic to any of the business. But when this scenario came, we definitely become very focused, because we saw that at least restaurant business, spa salon business, and all of these business are going to get impacted for 6 to 9 months in coming. So we shifted our focus to the place where we will have new opportunity in terms of voice automation. One was healthcare, and especially with telemedicine coming, we focused on healthcare. And another thing was this COVID. So we saw that a lot of people are having questions about COVID. They have questions about symptoms. They want to talk to a doctor, or someone is looking for a medical shop who can deliver medicines. So our voice AI can come there. It can assist these people instead of government having jam-packed 30 minutes waiting time call centers. So this is how we merged all these concept technology and built out a product.
Very good. So we'll come back to that. We'll just understand.
Sure.
We'll also look at how the market received it in a little bit.
Sure.
Now, I would request Ryan from Candify to briefly introduce what your startup is about, and then what is the COVID pivot that you've done.
Yes, thanks, Professor Ramesh. Yeah, I'm Ryan from Candify, and we are essentially trying to solve the problem of the lack of access, to healthcare, and the lack of medical professionals to serve those in need. As part of doing that, we have a mobile health screening solution that we were rolling out to the doorsteps of people. So we have a team of trained paramedics who actually go to the doorsteps of corporate offices, to the residences of people, and screen them, right? So when this COVID thing hit us, and there was a lockdown, our screening business was initially impacted a lot because we weren't allowed to go out, and private organizations weren't allowed to do, COVID specific tests. So we really had to innovate and look at what we could offer to people in a very, very short span of time. Uh, I know that most startups, when they start out, try to solve the entire world's problem. But this lockdown actually, it gave us an opportunity to solve a problem for a single person at a single time. And we actually looked hard into our business and found ways to actually give that value, offer that value to the people who need it the most. What we did was, instead of rolling out our entire gamut of tests, we rolled out a subset of our tests, and we focused on immunity screening. We focused on the early detection of illnesses which was specific to hypertension, which was specific to diabetes, which was specific to cardiovascular related issues. Because if you look at these three types of illnesses, anyone who has these underlying illnesses and unfortunately who gets affected with COVID will have a harder time trying to deal with COVID, because they have these related illnesses. So we rolled out. So the first thing we did was to roll out a subset of a screening platform, and the other pivot we made was to quickly launch our telemedicine effort. So we have video consultations, audio consultations, and chat consultations also ongoing now.
Oh, that's very good that you considered immunity screening as one of the things early on, because very few have realized that unfortunately, the medical community also is not publicizing this as strongly as they should be. But there are clear reports that says like the best thing any one of us can do to prepare is like just stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Do everything we can, because it's not like the virus is a binary thing that you have it or don't have it. When you have it, the body fights back. The better you are at fighting back, the much milder it's going to be. So good that you focus on that. So we'll come back to understand how your mobile health platform has been received, and physically in terms of if government had a role in this whole thing, because government has been controlling. So we'll come to that. So Nishant, if you can quickly give an introduction to Urban Carry, and what is the pivot you saw or you kind of found that you could go after during COVID?
Thank you, Professor Ramesh. Hi, everyone. I am Nishant from Urban Carry. So we are a Delhi-based venture, and our main focus area is urban agriculture. And so our vision is to bridge the gap between the urban citizen and their food. So usually the basic problem in urban area is that, especially in the city like Delhi, is that people do not know the answer of the three basic questions, like who grows their food and how their food is grown, and under what circumstances, like how their food travels and reaches them. So these are the three questions which are crucial for the well-being of a citizen, and also it impacts their health a lot. So what we do is we try to bridge this gap between consumer and the food through our model, which is called Rent a Carry. So in Rent a Carry, what we do is we have our own 3 to 4 acre farm in Delhi, where people can take a plot on rent to grow food for their own family. So what they can do is so they can rent a plot of approximately say around 1200 square feet on our farm, and they sow their seeds on the farm, and in their absence we maintain their farm, and we also deliver their vegetables to their doorstep. This is our basically our model. So when COVID struck us, so the basic thing which happened was that the we were totally in the condition of shock. So basically, we didn't our complete logistic system was broken down. So the immediate effect on our farm was that since vegetables are the perishable items, so we have to it has to reach the consumers within a short span of time. So our first reaction was of course shock, but later we cope with time.
So that's good. So I think it is, of course, we also pick startups that have had an opportunity to service some need in the times of COVID. But I think it also, I think startups are inherently resilient. I mean, they haven't chosen an easy path, right? I mean, like to quit a comfortable job and chase an idea that they believe in. It's not an easy path, and it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. And I'm so heartened. I mean, we normally individual startups go through a testing time in their journeys, but something like this where it's suddenly like everybody is faced with this huge uncertainty, complete lockdown, you can't meet anybody, and like all the plans are kind of disrupted. This doesn't happen very often, and I think the resilience is showing up here. I mean, it's very nice to hear that each of you have just found some opportunity that you're going after. Now, the how did you? I want to understand. I mean, you can go in any order. I mean, but I would like to understand what was the process of discovering, because it was still a pivot, right? I mean, yes, while the drive is there and the fire is there to go do something, and even if one path got blocked, you'll find another path. But what is the process to discover the opportunity? Like if any of you can start, so maybe Ryan, because you clearly pivoted to specific to COVID. What was the process for you to discover that, okay, this need is there and this is what I need to do to modify my product and my positioning to service the need? How did that process happen, Ryan?
Yes. So, the first thing I did was to try to talk to as many people as possible. And, like when the lockdown happened, it was physically impossible, to leave the house and go and talk to people. So I thought the best thing would be to create like sales funnels online. So this lockdown helped me. I learned a lot about marketing, advertising, and how to get hold of, like people at a very cheap cost. So I built a lot of a lot of sales funnels on on Facebook, uh, like email marketing campaigns, like Facebook ads and landing pages and whatnot. And I found that like these things were working. I was getting a lot of inquiries a day, and I could easily convert, like 10 to 15% of those inquiries at least. And while speaking with those people, I found that a lot of the people I was speaking with were elderly people over the age of 60. And a lot of these people told me, like, hey, Ryan, like, you're doing a great thing, in this COVID time, because we are, like senior citizens, and we are living in these huge apartment complexes, like everything's locked down. We don't, we don't actually, uh, um, have anyone who can come into testers, and we ourselves can't, go out to labs or hospitals because we find it tough to do so, right? So there's clearly, I mean, like this segment of the population that wants to get themselves checked, that has an inherent need, to stay healthy, but like find it tough to do so, right? So, and the only way I found this was just because I could talk to all those people, and I'm still speaking to people, right? Like, for example, now when I go out and talk to people, there are a whole lot of industries, since I'm from an IT background, I like initially thought that the only industry I could go after was the IT industry, and that software companies and that IT companies were my only clients, the corporate sector. But if you look at the corporate sector, there are a whole lot of industries, there are a whole lot of companies in the non-IT sector who will actually, like welcome you with open arms, I mean, like to come in and test all the employees, because in most cases, they've never seen the kind of platform that we've built. And like the USP of our platform is that we go and screen people and we hand them the test results, immediately. There's no waiting.
And did you have any execution challenges once you identified the opportunity with the curfew and everything? Were there any execution challenges in getting people on the street to go collect the samples and such?
Yes, we actually, like had a lot of execution challenges, and we couldn't do it, for a lot of time, like while the lockdown was happening. But like while the lockdown was happening, since we couldn't actually have our paramedics go out to screen people, we then quickly rolled out our telemedicine platform, and like that garnered, like a good amount of audience. And
so that was yet another pivot.
Yes, that was yet another pivot. And then when
So,
the lockdown was ending, we restarted, a screening effort. So we made sure that we were always on our toes while while the lockdown happened. We were never short of ideas. Yeah.
I'm sure. So Chandra, I mean, you had a solution that you're not targeting. Well, it was useful in the current scenario, but you're not targeting that space. So how did you? What was your process of discovering the fit, Chandra? When you found that, okay, I could use voice AI for all this kind of remote assistance. What was your process of discovering that need and then going after it?
Right, definitely. So, the very first when lockdown happened and government released those toll-free numbers that you can call on these numbers and the consultation about your COVID, you have symptoms or not. Next day, the newspapers will feel like, there is 30 minutes, 40 minutes waiting time. People are not able to get assistance. Government had put all the ministry and support staff, but still costs were so large. We thought that most of these costs are daily seen. So you could people just have that I want to talk to a doctor, who is the nearest, where is the nearest testing center, do I have symptoms. So you see that very simply we could put this whole recording, this close in our AI, and it could learn to answer those calls automatically. So we started with that let's handle at least 10-20% of the calls initially and then ramp up. But then we face the issue of language because most of the calls were coming from the people who needed native languages, but our platform is only currently Hindi and English. So next we found another use case is that government is trying to do a survey of the people that in this particular area how many people are having COVID asymptomatic symptoms. So our AI could do that very easily. And in fact, for that reason only, I had reached out to you. But we faced some difficulty in getting collaborated with the government because when you involve government, it becomes quite lengthy. And right now, all authorities, bureaucrats are very busy in containment before. So
So
that's not.
how did you manage to get the adoption? Because
Yeah.
like you rightly said, while government has given those numbers, it's not easy to integrate into the government systems.
Right.
So how did you kind of push the adoption?
Yeah, so this was the third project that we did. So here we did not test the government. There were 4 or 5 NGOs which were doing quite good work in essential services. Suppose you are looking for food, you're looking for free ration, you're looking for shelter, you're looking for testing center, or you're looking to consult a doctor. These doctors are not government doctors. Thousands of doctors are voluntarily helping in this effort. That you have a symptom, I will help you in finding what is the level, and you should really go to the testing center or not.
Hmm.
So I connected with all those 4 or 5 NGOs, and we said that okay, so we have a free to use platform. We can connect all of you people. You are having website. We are giving you the helpline number, free to use, and unlimited scalability. So this is where I could bypass the whole role of government, and I could get the pool of data that these NGOs had already built. That we just integrated, and we'll launch the essential services helpline. You just call, you say what you're looking for, you give your PIN code, and you get the details directly on the SMS.
So that's
This was
fantastic. I think
yeah.
we were involved. I mean, many Raj and others from our AAC team and others from the institute and outside around several such activities in the city. I mean, that's a conversation in itself. I mean, how the
Yeah.
whole, I mean, unfortunately, not enough people responded, but there was good number of people that responded to try and help in different
Yeah.
areas. So no, that's very nice. So Nishant, you were in an area that doesn't have anything directly to do with COVID,
Yes.
but livelihood is something that got badly hit. So
Right.
was that what you discovered and tried to do? I mean, what was your reaction saying that, okay, this is what we can do for COVID, let's try it?
Yeah, so fortunately for us, what happened was that in this difficult times, we realized the strength of our existing model. So as I explained our model earlier, that we provide plots on rent on our farm where people can grow the food for their family. So this model was largely envisaged and implemented largely to make sure that the farmers who put in their labor to grow the food for us, so they get the assured income, and also on the other hand, consumers should get a high quality, good amount of good quality of food. However, when COVID led to a countrywide lockdown, we realized that people were like largely in Delhi, especially people were were in a state of anxiety, and they were panic buying the goods, and so they were not very sure from where their food will come, from where their supplies will come, whether they will get their essential items or not. However, our clients who had rented plots on a farm, uh, they were assured that they have rented plots on our farm, and they will get their seasonal vegetables on time. Our only challenge was to fix the logistics system, and somehow make sure that their vegetable reaches them on time. So we took around 7 to 8 days, and we fixed the chain of the logistics. And this is how we had to just fix the logistics basically. And we also realized that this particular model, which was envisaged for to help the farmers, were also immune to lot many things which we did not envisage earlier.
Oh, no, that's nice. Now, as you went through these journeys, and like some of it intersects directly with the government or some government agencies, in the least they have to give permission, and in some cases maybe more than that. Were there some unexpected quarters that you saw support from? That you are presently surprised that I didn't expect help from here. Uh, were there any such quarters where you got support from either of you, Nishant, Chandra, or Ryan? Any unexpected quarters where you got support from?
Um, in our case, not really. We just started speaking to the government, but no, not really. I mean, like everything what we got was due to, like the reach out that we did, right?
But was there any enthusiastic response in some place that you did not expect that they would be that enthusiastic when you reached out?
Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, like certainly, I mean, like customers, and I'll tell you, I already spoke about the segment of the senior citizens, right? Like they were most enthusiastic, and also doctors. A lot of doctors have, like proactively onboarded themselves onto a th- telemedicine platform. Hospitals, even Ayurveda hospitals, homeopathic doctors. We've got a lot of interest from the medical fraternity. In fact, the medical fraternity, like a lot of them also want us to convert our telemedicine platform into white label solutions for them.
So that's a future possibility now. I mean, like through this, that's very good.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of interesting things, have come out of this lockdown phase, I would say.
So Chandra, I mean, when you reach out to NGOs, I'm sure, I mean, NGOs by virtue of what they are, they'll be appreciative of any help. So were there some places where you found like that they were very, very happy and appreciative that some help was coming their way?
Yeah, definitely. So for us, in our case, what we did, we first started with two NGOs that you have gathered the data of all the test centers, the volunteering doctors. Well, let's start with the doctors. But very quickly, we could see that, two more NGOs directly reached out to us, hey, we are doing this, can you help us? Because, getting a very robust and stable platform communication. They got a very ready to use solution, and one of the interesting use case was one of the NGO, like it was not NGO, it's like a group of 5-6 associations, Lions Group and all in Delhi. They were distributing foods to people living in suburban areas of Delhi, like the migrant laborers. So before these migrant laborers were allowed to go to their home, they were facing huge issue in finding the food because they need the food, but they are not able to send their message that, hey, in this area, I need that. There are a lot of website and all that you can go and fill your information, but they don't have that much technical knowledge, and they don't have access to that many mobile and internet, all they can do. So our solution became very handy that this is a number, we just call. We just say, hey, I'm looking for food. I'm looking for food for 5 people. We think 2 people are having symptoms in our colony. So it becomes so easy. They were very interested about it, and they rolled out it in that particular area, and we got a very huge response. So I think these were some of the unexpected areas where we were not expecting that we will be able to reach to that level in depth to the ground. But so suddenly people came and adopted those solutions.
I know that's very fulfilling. I mean, like when at times like this, when you want to help, and if the help actually reaches somebody, I'm sure that's extremely fulfilling. I mean, Nishant, in your case, did you see any angle? I mean, Chandra just referred to the whole migrant workers and there.
Yeah.
Did you hit any angle? Did somebody approach you, or because you also deal with livelihoods around migrant workers? Was there something that you could do, or like did somebody approach you to do for migrant workers?
Yes. So interestingly, what happened was we were approached. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yep. So what happened was we were approached by our local MLA of the area and also one big organization. So they were involved in uh, uh, distributing free ration kits to the migrant laborers and everyone who were in need. However, they were not able to procure good quality of food to distribute. So in the area where we do the farming, there were many farmers who were struggling to sell their produce. So what we did during the time of the COVID was that we procured the ration from the farmers who were not able to sell their produce at the good amount of at the good price, and we procured the ration from them at the good price, and we sold it to the MLA and also teams of the many organizations who were into the COVID relief ration thing. So this is how we were able to, this was a very interesting kind of collaborative opportunity between government, NGO, and also, in a way, we as a profit-making venture, and also the distressed farmers. So this is the new angle which we were able to touch during times of COVID.
No, that's very nice. I mean, like they say, uh, everything that goes out comes around, right?
Yes.
If you do good, good will come back somewhere. I'm sure it will help all three of you, blessed souls, and your endeavors. So on that note, I know we touched upon it briefly. What is the next 6 to 12 months looking like for each of you? I mean, let's just do a quick 30 seconds. What's the outlook you're looking at before we take some questions from the other participants? So Ryan, you go first. What is the next 12 months looking like for you?
Yeah, so we are working on, like in addition to a contact-based screening model, we are also working on rolling out a contactless-based screening model, like wherein we ship the screening equipment to the people, ask them to test themselves, have that data flow into our app and flow into our platform, and then engage those customers with our doctors, like those patients with our doctors. So what we are also trying to do is integrate this entire screening effort into our telemedicine platform, and we are growing it, to be an entire virtual care platform, like something much more than screening in isolation, like something much more than telemedicine in isolation. What we want to be known as in the next 6 to 12 months is a virtual care company, wherein, like, no matter, even if you're locked down at home, you will get the same personalized experience and treatment that you would get if you were to walk into a lab, a clinic, or a hospital. So that's our vision for the next, like 6 to 12 months out.
Fantastic. I'm sure it will pan out. Given especially the paranoia, people don't want to go anywhere. So I'm sure that will be a service that will be worthwhile. Chandra, what is your 12 months looking like, next 12 months?
Well, so I think in terms of the business wise, we will be more focused on this healthcare industry, and we would like to build a more formidable and stable product for especially for Indian market. And also we have to expand few more language options, because if you want to start in India, you have to offer. And because of our helpline, we have collected tons of data. So now we have the opportunity to make it better. So in that terms, it became beneficial for us. That we
so how much? What is the rough number of users that you had? I mean, how much of voice sample did you get?
So we got approximately 5,000, so approximately 10,000 minutes. I can say that we have collected.
All in English or other languages as well?
No, we launched it in two languages. One is English and Hindi. Two languages, yeah.
No, fantastic. We should connect up separately. There's an Indian languages initiative. There may be something that you could both participate and also benefit from. Just please do reach out to me later. Let's discuss that. So that's very good. So that, I mean, so you are seeing an upside as well. So Nishant, what is your next 12 months looking like?
For us, so we got a lot of inquiries during the time of COVID, because people want to consume good quality of food now, as they are very anxious. So we want to expand from 3 acres to 10 acres in 1 year. So this is our largely our plan. And one more thing I would like to add is that it is very disheartening to see many startups fail under pressure. What this is something I I would like to give a suggestion to other startups, and also I would also like to do is that there should be some amount of money that should be kept from the revenue as a backup fund. Each startup should do that which should be equivalent to say around 1.5 months of working capital should be kept aside, uh, uh, to make sure that startup should survive on its own under such circumstances. Many startups failed during this time, which we realized that was due to lack of working capital.
Absolutely. I think even if there's an opportunity upside coming up, if you can't weather this current downturn in those few months, you may not be around to make benefit of that upside. No, absolutely. I think the whole financial management is the most difficult thing to do right now. We did something called Unpitch, which was a bridge funding. We said, like any startup that thinks they need short-term cash, you have to pitch to a panel of investors, and then we will provide 5 lakhs immediately, and the investors might invest additionally also. So we did that. We had about 180 starter supply, and about 40 of them pitched finally, and 13 of them got the 5 lakhs immediately, or at least offer. Not all have taken. And then, so we did this in April, and the whole idea was exactly what you said. If they hadn't planned for it, or if they didn't have the opportunity, enough surplus funds to provide for it, they're looking at kind of not being able to survive the next 2 months to be around when the lockdown lifts. No, that's a very good point. So with that, we'll open up for questions from the participants. So anybody, either you can type it in the chat window or just unmute and speak.
Okay. Hello all. This is Hemant here from Kutum.
Yeah, Hemant, yes, please go ahead.
Sure. It was a great interactive session and a very informative to hear it from the horse's mouth. The experienced people who have gone through it, it is nice. Thank you for having us, the second cohort team, involved. So just a quick one-line introduction about our startup. We are a professional networking app for rural India. So that's Kutum, empowering the tier 2 city youth. That's one side. Just to ask again some of the questions which we have also heard, and to get it from you guys, how did your revenue look like during this time? Did you guys focus on revenue or the use cases what you tried to work on? And was there a change in revenue, or it was more of a service to the society what you try to do at this moment? Maybe each one of you take it up a minute, probably, if that's okay.
Yeah, any of you that have a perspective on this, please do pitch in.
Yeah, yes, Hemant. So, I mean, like, that's a great question. So we started off, as you said, as a service-based thing. So we did a lot of free initiatives, a lot of free corporate camps. But what we found was that, doing all these free initiatives, led to a lot of appreciation from the customer. And that is now, generating quite a bit of revenue for us, like present revenue and also future revenue. So a lot of good has come out of us doing, free service. While we didn't get paid for the free service, it certainly led to revenue, in the near future. And even if I look now, I'm like well into the future, say like this, I'm like the next, like 6 months or 1 year, we've got like very, very, like valuable and supportive customers who are happy to help us and support us by spreading word, about us among their, among their contacts, among their groups, in their industry. So like certainly a lot of revenue, is being generated for us out of this whole thing.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Well, so I would add up my points as well in the similar line with her, and I think that for us also this was a free service, but we got the benefit bigger than the investment that we did for this. So we collected a lot of data. So the data is helping us in improving our model. And another thing is we got to know about the need of the people. So what they need and where are the places where new opportunities could be available, and based on that we coordinated government and other authorities that these are the places where you need to focus. So doing these all efforts, we built a very good connect with some government agencies and a lot of NGOs and influential people who could be at the end be very helpful in your future terms. People say that your network is your net worth. So we built a strong network in this time. And third thing is that technically we were able to test the skill of our technology in this time, because at one time you get hundreds of calls. In normal times you cannot have those many people testing your technology. So that was happened. So 3 benefits we got out of this.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
See, in our case, our focus was just to keep running. So our focus was survival. However, since we were dealing in essential items, so our revenue increased. So it almost reached double than the usual what we do in other times. So yeah, so fortunately it helped us. But our focus was not to, in a way to just to survive.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh.
Sure, Hemant. Thanks. Other participants, anybody, even a comment? I mean, if you had some experiences, please do pitch in.
Hi, this is Dipen Modi. So my question is, with this reverse migration of laborers happening and government declaring a program for 116 degrees, 16 districts. So is that anyway presents a business opportunity or pivoting opportunity to any of these startups?
That's a tough one because they directly go in the realm of the government. But anyway, please do.
Yeah, I would add something in this tough question. So you can see that large number of these people are returning back to their places, and many of the places where they were working now, those requirements are either changed or they will not get the job in the same place. So they are looking for the job. So looking for a large number of people who still don't have access to LinkedIn and all and can find the job because they're blue collar people. So we are in touch with one of a company which is into these kind of blue collar people's job. So for them, getting a resume is just like calling and say, hey, I can do this, I want to do this, I can do this, I'm looking for a job, I'm doing this, I can come to this city. So for this purpose they cannot email and nothing works. But so our solution comes right there. So we are in touch with them, so discussing about if suppose large number of people are calling, you want to onboard, you want to shut out the people based on their skills, our technology could be useful. So this is one area we have gotten because for this.
Nice. So yeah, other participants, anybody else? If anybody has some experiences to share, also please do. It'll be nice to hear from others as well. So while we have others pitching in, so one thing that we are trying to do from Triplight is broader CIE is to see if startups can find some opportunities to collaborate and go after some things together. So that's something we've identified, but we haven't yet figured out how to do it. So have you kind of found some opportunities where like you found some other startups that were doing something complementary that you thought together you could go after an opportunity right now? Either of you, Nishant, Ryan, or Chandra.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say that myself. See, I can see Chandra smiling in the background. So, Candify had a great opportunity to actually do that. So Candify and Callzy are collaborating on an audio telemedicine helpline, right? So one of the largest elder care organizations in our country approached Candify to build a low-tech solution, for telemedicine. And we had a high-tech, sophisticated app that they told us, hey, like all our customers and patients are all elderly senior citizens, and like most of them might not be tech savvy. And they might be afraid of using your app. Like, can you build a low-tech solution for us, which will not involve your app at all? So we had to make a fast pivot, So I said, okay, like why not use a combination of audio and WhatsApp? And then we collaborated with Callzy and we got this audio helpline going. Hopefully we'll start rolling in the next couple of days.
Oh, well, so I thought I would add this, but Rhino's faster than me. So I
think Sir's muted.
Yeah, Chandra, sorry, I was on mute. Chandra, go ahead. You pitch in your side of it also. How did you get this and how did you react to it?
Well, so this was quite an interesting use case, and I told you like in Indian tech, because initially Callzy is working in US market, okay, and this COVID and this requirement brought us a very good opportunity because we already have 3 of the use cases ongoing. But Ryan's was very intriguing and very good. So I thought that let's do it. I told you that okay, we'll somehow roll it out, and we have been working a lot. So I think this is quite interesting. And the next tech which has to come for this larger mass, which is not that tech savvy, which cannot access those big apps and is not able to use a lot of internet, can still get the same benefit just on a call. I think that is going to bring a mass change in healthcare, in migrant laborers, in job searching, and many places.
That's nice. Because that's something we are trying to see. So it would be nice to hear your views as well. We are trying to see what kind of platform can we create that can see. In this case, we probably knew each other because you're in the cohort, you were met. So that is the most natural way for it to happen. When you know some other startup that's doing something that you think is complementary, and together can go after an opportunity. But that network is very small. The network of startups that you personally know would be much smaller. Can there be a platform like, say, like something like Triple IT or even a set of incubators? When we did the Unpitch event, we did along with Head Start and went out, took out a national campaign. We said we need a dose of positivity that we need to push. And so we said, like, here's a big source of funding, like anybody can apply. So we had 180 startups apply. Now, at least some glimmer of hope. I mean, not all 180 got the money, but still, now on those lines, any thoughts you have, I mean, Ryan, Nishant, or Chandra, in terms of what could such a platform be? It's not just about getting the startups together, because that is only is going to create noise. How do we kind of figure out these synergies? What could be a way to make it happen? Any thoughts?
So, I mean, like one thing, Professor, that I think is, see, like every startup, although they want to do great service, at the end of it, they have to generate, like some sort of revenue, out of whatever they do. Otherwise, they just won't survive. So, I mean, like tech-based startups, right? Why not we have, say, like something like a Facebook of startups where there's, like a bid system. So, like everything happens online. Like every startup advertises what they do and what they are capable of contributing. And then other startups who wish to avail of such services, right? They just click and, I mean, like they contact, like they place their request. And then the startups who want to associate, who want to collaborate, can actually initiate those talks, with the startups who need that requirement. So it becomes easy. You don't have to physically travel or go to forums or go to meets or seminars, right? So you open your laptop, you like access this huge portal, which, like no doubt has to be really well structured, right? But then there has to be a clear way for like for a startup to place their request, onto the portal, and for the reciprocating startup, to answer that.
I think that might be the challenge. I mean, to come out with the right information model where it is easy to find this match to make, because very fine and it can very quickly become noisy. The information there, I think, like you rightly said, the portal design is a challenge. I mean, we have to figure out some good way of designing this portal so that it'll be easy to find the right synergies. So Chandra and Nishant, any thoughts you have in terms of how such synergies can be discovered as a platform in a much larger scale?
Well, so I think one of the cooler way would be to contribute into open source. Okay, so I think so I could tell you just in our case. So we were working with five of the NGOs. Okay, and all of them were using different technologies. All of them have different tech stack. One is using Excel. One is using PDF only for giving the data. One is doing manually. So what at the end I had to do is we made our own SDK open source and say that okay, whatever the data you guys have, just pull it in and let's connect it at. Because at the end, using their data, we could actually build a very useful product. So I think if 10 or 15 of good startups could come together, and one use case I cannot discover, but sitting with Ryan, I could discover one use case which I didn't know. So I think such kind of meetings could together and building an open source interoperable open source system, which this could build an open source technology and useful use cases would be very good. In fact, we have been working on that. So we have built a consortium of NGOs for essential services. So in future, if any of the places in India is getting flood, drought, or COVID kind of scenarios, we need a helpline where people can call and get help, get needs, and ask their requirements. So we have built this open source system. We just connect all of these NGOs, and they can start using our Colgis technology of YCI on this. So I think such kind of products, open source, internal meetings, more use cases together could be very helpful.
So one way, I mean, what I'm hearing from you is like at some level, set up a broad, either a problem area or a challenge area, and say, look, this is something that we need to solve. Who wants to come and contribute? And get a set of startups to come and contribute. So there, I think the vision of conceptualizing such challenges would be the key enabler. If you can conceptualize the right challenge and then put it out there saying, look, anybody interested in contributing to this, come and contribute. So that's a good suggestion. I think like what you did is in effect that, though this was more, you discovered the problem and then went after it. But the same thing, once somebody can step back a little and set up a slightly broader problem statement, and then say, like, look, whoever wants to come and contribute, come and contribute. And then that can create, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
Nishant,
totally. Yeah, example is Ryan and me together. I never discovered this old age people having a telephone-based simple telemedicine solution. Before we didn't know our solution exists. Yeah.
But you had a shared context to talk.
Yeah,
Saying, okay, let's discuss and see. So
we need to increase
context to get these conversations going.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. Nishant, any thoughts you have?
Sorry, I don't have immediate thoughts on that, but I agree with Chandra and Ryan. Since the collaboration is one thing which is very important for the startups, and especially when they are facing problems.
Okay, so that's been fantastic. So we are hitting the hour now, and so Chandra, Nishant, and Ryan, thank you so much for joining and sharing your experiences. I'm so happy to hear that all of you are looking at a good kind of outlook for the coming months. And of course, I think your efforts and your products have helped already in the last couple of months during the time when the help was needed. And like I say, good karma given will come back. So I'm sure it will all help your businesses going forward. So wish you all the very best, and also wish the new startups that have joined us this week in the new cohort. Wish them also a fantastic time in the journeys. And these are all been kind of shortlisted, contacted, the conversations have happened, and onboarded during the lockdown. So they're inherently resilient already because this whole process of discovering them happened during the lockdown. So I'm sure they will also have fantastic journeys, and all the best for everybody on this call. So Ravi, back to you.
Sure, thanks, sir. It was a wonderful discussion, and in a small way, we have been able to connect the first cohort and the second cohort today. But we'll carry forward the discussions next week, and we'll have a larger meeting of both the cohorts next week. Look forward to meeting again. Meanwhile, thanks to Ramesh sir again, Nishant, thanks, Chandra, Ryan, and everyone else who joined us today. Take care and stay safe. We'll catch up again soon.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.